here from Advanced Etowah. If you are watching this down the road, we are here to talk about the Humane Society and make sure that everybody knows to come out and support the community celebration that we're having at Evoke Aviation at the airport this Saturday. It's going to be 6 to 9. We've got live music, food, beverages. It can be all free, but we highly encourage you to throw some donations in there because those donations are going to go to both the Humane Society and to Coosa Riverkeeper as we celebrate the end of this rendering plant fiasco and the final victory that we have had. So that's what we're talking about. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the Humane Society, the issues that we have in this community, a lot of it I really was not aware of as I lived in my little hole up until about 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden I started paying a lot of attention, and this issue of a lot of homeless animals, this issue that we have countywide is something that, it's caught my attention. And a lot of the folks that have been a part of us working against the rendering plant are heavily involved, and a lot of volunteers and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're talking about. As you guys jump on, we are going to go around the room. I'm going to show you who all we've got here. So everybody say hello. Y'all doing all right this morning?
Hello. Hello.
Hello. So guys, if you could, somebody throw a comment in there that our audio is good. I see we're getting a few. And please hit that share button and ask questions, comments. Today, we're talking about dogs and cats and animals of all kind. And, the internet was created to talk about dogs and cats. So I would think there would be a lot of interest in that as we do this on the internet. So everybody loves sharing a puppy photo and kittens and all that kind of stuff. Carrie Matchin, audio is good. Thank you. Good. All right. We'll give it another few minutes. Please hit that share button. And again, if you've got questions or just a comment, then we'll kind of start going around the room a little bit and just what. So this morning, what's everybody been up to? Everybody ready for summer to end, the hot weather to be gone?
I am a
The
little
hot weather.
Summer
can stay, but the hot weather can go.
Right.
Well, I know this is a busy time for a lot of folks, kids getting back in. It's hard to believe. I feel like we just started summer and we're already back in school. Football season coming up, all that kind of good stuff. So let's do this. So, cat or dog person?
Definitely dog.
Okay, cat or dog person?
A little bit of both, but probably a little over to the dog side.
All right.
I'm dog, but my boys are cats.
All right. So how about that for you guys out there and in the internet world? Let me know, or I don't know. I mean, maybe turtle. I spend a lot of time around a lot of anglers, so fish, although not necessarily for pets, but more for having fun. And winning tournaments. So, all right, we've got a few of you in here. I guess we'll go ahead and get started and get rolling. So, I'm going to introduce Jean Puglisi because I just met these young ladies, and this young lady sitting next to me has been someone who, like so many of you, and so many others in the community, I didn't know she existed until 18 or 20 so months ago. And we've talked a lot through the render and plant. Appreciate all that you've been involved with all of that. And, of course, as I was just mentioning a few minutes ago, along the way, I see you post a lot of dog pictures and speak out about, issues with things like the Humane Society. But this is Jean Puglisi. Welcome. thanks for coming
Thank you.
on. I know everybody loves having cameras turned on and the internet live. So, I appreciate you coming in and educating. A lot of where this comes from, guys, was just like everything else. I'm not all that aware of a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I haven't been paying attention to, and so a lot of this is just educating me. And I'm excited that we're going to have an opportunity to hopefully raise some money to help some animals this weekend. So, Gene, what brought you to the Humane Society? I guess would be the place to start the conversation.
Okay, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Advance Etowah, and I know these ladies and the rest of the board and the staff at the Humane Society are very grateful that we've been included in this celebration this coming Saturday. And we will be there with adoptable dogs and paperwork, T-shirts and other sorts of things that people like to buy and maybe adopt. That would be great. But I started out at the Humane Society because I grew up with dogs out in the country up in Massachusetts, and they've just always been around me, part of my life. And when I was getting ready to retire, the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, one of the things, as part of my retirement plan, one of the things that I thought I'd really like to do, and it was suggested to me by my husband and several other people, is why don't you go out and volunteer at the Humane Society? And I had the opportunity and privilege of being mentored for about 9 years by Joe Simmons, who owns Bethel Kennels. And he really is the dog whisperer in this area. So everyone was saying, why don't you go out and volunteer after you retire and help with some of the behaviors so those dogs can become more adoptable. And so I did that as a volunteer for several months. I was on the board for a while and realized the need to work with many of the dogs there because many are indeed adoptable. They've just got some behaviors that they need to understand are not acceptable if they go out into a home, and for the adoption to be a long-term success. So I've gone back to just working with the dogs, and every Monday afternoon we do take dogs out to Joe's place that we have more questions about. And because his expertise, I spent 9 years being mentored by him. He's been doing this for 35 years.
Wow. All right.
And so
I did not know that we had a dog whisperer in Etowah County. So
yes.
Okay, well, why don't you take a quick second and like I said, introduce these other two young ladies from the board, and then we'll and the same question in terms of what brought y'all to the Humane Society. So why don't you introduce them, Jean?
This is Kat Hubbard, and Kat and I spent a few months on the board together before I decided to step back and spend more time with the dogs out there and the training and the behavioral issues. And then we have Carol Carmack. And Carol is new. In fact, today is the first day I'm meeting her. She's a new board member.
Right.
And
Well, they're throwing you right in the fray to come on and talk on the internet. So
Nobody gives me a microphone ever.
well, good. So what brought?
We may find out why they never give her a microphone today.
Gotcha,
I don't
gotcha.
know.
All right, it's going to be one of those
I've
shows.
known her
Okay.
most of my life, but I don't know if I've ever been around her with a microphone.
All right. So what brought you ladies to the Humane Society? So
Well, basically, I guess I've been doing rescue most of my life. I was the kid that my parents never knew what I was going to bring home off the side of the road. And but for the last 15 years or so, I've done a lot of rescue from my home. And I've probably rescued over 500 animals that have gone through my home. And in January, I had Chris Molds and Kate Pickett, which is two of our big advocates in the area for animals, invite me to come on the board. And then Kate left the board and Chris never joined. So I think they threw me under the bus, but it has been a wonderful experience so far. So I'm grateful to them for it. And I know that I need to step out and share what I know with the community and with the shelter and help get some animals to safety
Okay.
that deserve a chance.
Okay. And what brought you over to the Humane Society?
Well, I've had animals my whole life, and I figured out that I can't bring them all home, but I can go to where they are.
Gotcha.
And I remember the first day I figured that out, I called my dad and I said, "You don't have to tell me I can't save them all anymore because now I can volunteer to a place where I can." And I like animals more than most people, and
Wait,
it's
you like animals more than most people, or you like animals more than most people?
the second one. I like animals more than the majority of the people I know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So if I can help save not just one, but hundreds, thousands, because they need it.
Okay.
They need it.
Well, I think that's a great segue into where I wanted to start with is it's educating people like me on what is the problem that we really have in Etowah County. Is it worse than other communities that you're aware of? I mean, do we have what is kind of what's some of the main issues that we've got in terms of we talked about like wild,
Overpopulation. Yeah, I've done some research on this because it's really a concern in this entire community. And it's a safety, a safety and health issue for everyone. And it seems like in the Southeast, we have more dogs that are strays.
Okay.
And as opposed to the Midwest and Northeast. So typically, if we can get dogs out via rescue, they go out to the Northeast or out to the Midwest. And the overpopulation has just gotten worse and worse. And I continually drive through neighborhoods. And I have looked at some cities where they have had some success in containing the overpopulation problem. And the key is stop them from reproducing.
Right.
And this will lead into what Kat is trying to do with her efforts. But the cities that I've looked at that have been successful with this will tell you, rescue is like bailing your basement out with a bucket and the faucet is still on.
Okay.
Okay, if you really want to solve the overpopulation problem, you've got to have very strong spay and neuter programs in your communities, and that turns the faucet off. And you might not see the result for 2 or 3 years, but you will see it, and then you can work on the other problems like animal control and their responsibility to pick up stray dogs and get them somewhere back to their owner or to a shelter, a safe place to stay for the time being. And so that's really the key is our spay and neuter programs and getting those in place.
Okay.
Kat has been doing something really great with that.
Basically, to add to that, the reason we are able to send rescues to the Northeast and the Midwest is because they do have good spay and neuter programs, or
Yes.
they would not be receiving our animals from here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that we have to send them, in transports to find them a good home. But one thing I've been working on, I've written some grants, and the grant I have written that is until this Friday, we're doing a fundraiser for it. It ends on Friday.
Okay.
And it's for our SNP program, which will help people in our community get their animals spayed and neutered at either no cost or very little cost based on their income. If they can pay something, that's great because it keeps our fund filling up. But if they just cannot afford it, the grant I have written, it's for over $60,000 that I'm hoping to receive from it. We did reach our $3,000 goal that we had to reach to be able to receive the grant.
Okay.
And it's from USA Today Network. It's called A Community Thrives, and it's on our Facebook page.
Okay.
Everybody can go on there and donate. And the more money we raise, the better our odds of getting more money for our grant. So we need donations to that through Friday. And business sponsors that donate $500 or more, I'm going to have a big banner made and put it up in the shelter to show their support.
So give me some context on, I mean, do we know how many percent? Obviously, we probably don't have a count on how many wild dogs or, stray dogs we have running around, but I mean, percentage, I mean, has it gotten worse in the last couple of years? Has this been a persistent problem? I was talking with someone yesterday, and they mentioned, and this is something I hadn't thought a lot about, but the impact of COVID on pets.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So it has gotten worse in our community over the past couple of years. Is there?
I think it's gotten more critical over the last couple of years, and definitely COVID was part of it. I think there was a slow build up before that. There's always been the problem, but it's really come to the forefront in the last couple of years or so, don't you think?
I think so.
And where because I know I've seen you post and talk a lot on Facebook about packs of dogs, and where is that? Where is that happening?
It's happening all over, and people want to place a blame and stigmatize certain communities, and that's not so. I've driven all over, and I've done it with other animal advocates, and they're everywhere. And I live in Clubview, and if I walk my dog in the morning, or I know someone else who does, we'll see anywhere from 3 to 4 dogs just roaming the streets. And it's in every community.
Okay. Well, that's so we'll circle back to the COVID discussion, because obviously when that was mentioned to me, first thought is, are we talking about COVID again? But the reality is that, I mean, we had loss of life of pet owners, and a lot of the kids that were left, or like they let the pets go. They didn't want them. They didn't want to take care of them. All that kind of stuff. So, that honestly is not an aspect of COVID that I had thought about and the impact that it would have. But that's that's certainly a disturbing thing. And so, I see a couple of comments about taking care of your pet and getting them spayed, neutered, and keeping. Well, I mean, that's great until grandma dies and nobody's either willing to take the pet, or there's no family to deal with it.
Right.
And I'm sure that happened. I mean, especially when you've got husband and wives that died in the midst of all of that together, and all that. So that's again, I guess in time we'll definitely see a lot of impacts of what we all went through with COVID. But that was one aspect that I had not thought about. So I guess, where can we go if we see the packs of dogs and stuff like that? What do we need to know as citizens? What can we do about it? I guess that will be the next logical question.
I think every person in the community, we need to be educating each other, and that spay and neuter is the key. And it seems like we have a large amount of people in the community that are just not educated on what works.
Yes.
And a lot of times they get themselves in trouble, and they think, well, I can wait until they're 7 or 8 months old or a year old to get them spayed or neutered. But a cat can get pregnant at 4 to 5 months old, and dogs 5 months forward. And so typically 6 months is kind of the average where you're supposed to get your pet spayed or neutered. And a lot of people are being complacent, not wanting to spend the money, just I'm trying to take that away from the
Right.
table and offer them, please, just beg them, please get your animals spayed and neutered because they deserve better.
So,
And if you do see dogs that are roaming, unfortunately, some of them are owned.
Yes.
And so we do have an ordinance that says not only will they be leashed, but that dog will be under control. And and that is a serious problem. And I think that you can contact animal control if you see dogs that you think are strays or whatever, and you can kind of tell who's a stray and who's a dog that's probably owned by somebody. And especially when you get out into the areas that are considered more country out in the county, a lot of those dogs, I mean, when I grew up in neighborhoods like that, we were surrounded by fields. You know the dog is owned and you know who owns it. And many of them will not cause harm. And but when you get into the city limits, the problem can be a little bit different. And there are dogs that are nice that roam around, but still, ordinances are ordinances, and they need to be enforced and complied with. And my concern is that people get angry with us because us being the Humane Society, because we're full of all of these dogs that get picked up. Then they get angry with animal control because they feel like they're not responding to the request to come and pick up these dogs in their neighborhood. And again, it's back to stopping the reproduction of animals, because you could give animal control 10 more officers, 10 more positions, and they will still be overloaded. We will still be overloaded.
Right.
And it's getting back to what Kat was speaking to regarding any sort of program and what she's doing with grants, trying to obtain grant money to stop the reproduction of those animals.
okay. So one thing we'll the spay and neuter program, and then we'll I just want to touch on real quick, and then we can dive into kind of a little bit more exactly what goes on at the Humane Society. But I know there is it sounds like a relatively new program between Rainbow City and Southside and Etowah County. That's a spay and neuter ticket program. From what information I've got, there's basically they've thrown some money together to try and go out and coordinate. Sounds like it's pretty good success thus far. But so there's that spay and neuter program. The county has its own shelter. Do they do spay and neuter as well in their shelter out there? How much do y'all know about them?
The county, I'm sure they have arrangements with, I don't know a lot about them.
Okay.
I have spoken with Lori Howell, who is the director out there, and they do some spay and neuter with veterinarians. And we do have really good veterinarians in our county that want to help, but it's overwhelming, number one. And number two, some of them are short-staffed, and we're asking them to take on more.
Gotcha.
And they're already booked 2 months out.
Right.
From the folks that are their customers.
Which goes back to COVID again,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and the
Yes.
short-staffed that sounds like a common.
Yes.
But sometimes though, it's not even, I don't have the financial means. It's I don't want my male dog neutered because he's not then a male dog. Well, he's still male. Now he just can't be part of the problem.
Gotcha.
And he will be happier and healthier
Yes.
neutered, just like your spayed her. She's going to be happier and healthier with a less likely chance of getting cancer and different other illnesses. So sometimes it's a macho thing. And that kind of goes back to the ignorance of the health benefits of keeping your dog safe.
Yeah. Well, we've always had male dogs in my house, and I'm in a house full of women. I've got 2 daughters, and but I still consider him one of the guys because I gotta have I can't be alone in a house with three women. So he's a good companion to have. Although he loves my wife way more than he loves me, so that's all right. I'll just cry in a corner and deal with it. But okay, so let's get into the Humane Society and what exactly. So number one, where is the Humane Society? Where are you guys located?
It's 4200 Brook Avenue, and that is 35904. It's down close to the interstate where Rainbow City and Etowah come together there.
Okay.
It's across from Church of the Highlands.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, out there.
Close to the airport.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. And so like, what do you have in terms of capacity? And what are the programs that y'all have going on in the?
Well, today we have 91 dogs there. We should technically probably have about 50 because we have runs that we're having to separate into two
Okay.
to house everyone there. We have about 65 cats in house, and let's see, we do have a foster to adopt program and a foster program, and we have animals additionally out into those programs. Foster is just someone like me or you that is willing to open their home for a couple of weeks, couple of months, however long it takes to get an animal to safety. It gets them out of the shelter, and they get exercise and, more up close and personal care, which makes them more adoptable. So we're always looking for fosters. So if we can plug that a little bit.
So how many fosters do you typically have? I mean, how many folks are?
Do you know, Jean? I'm not real sure how many active fosters we have.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't keep up with the
I
counts.
will have
but
to ask that. I'm
Yeah.
not.
Well,
real
hey,
sure,
if-
but
Foster, though. I'm an active.
she
very
is an active foster. Absolutely.
Well, so guys, if you happen to know that number, if you're foster, let me know in the comments. I'm curious. So, I mean, it sounds like you're at that 100 dogish or 100 animal, and then plus whatever you've got out in the foster system, so to
Right,
speak.
I
So.
have some more numbers
I think we probably have. I mean, that's and if you're really only supposed to be at that 50, 60 mark, then that's the telling part of what we have. So do you have a veterinarian on staff, or what's the relationship with?
We do not. Dr. Drummond at Rainbow City Pet Clinic, it's the reason I ran a few minutes behind today was because we were talking to her. She's going to start on Mondays. She's going to be doing spay and neuter for us.
Okay.
And it will be strictly at her cost. She's an amazing person and is willing to help us. So
She's been in the trenches with us the last 2 years.
She's my personal vet, and she's amazing. And I know Dr. Gurley does a lot for us too. And
Dr. Island.
yes, Dr.
Okay.
Island
Out
at
at
Southside.
Southside.
He's done a lot for us. So we need our vets, all of our vets, involved in what we're doing and helping do whatever they can. That's one way. That's one thing we need. We always need volunteers at the shelter.
So how many do you have? Is there full-time staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How many staff members ish?
We have approximately.
I'm totally putting you guys
It's
all on the
okay.
spot with numbers. So.
We have about 20 staff members, and some full time, some part time, and basically we're structured with the board, and then we have a director that interacts within the board and the staff, and we have a shelter manager that works under the director that helps manage the employees, and an office manager. We're a full-blown business down there that with a large budget that we have to do big fundraisers to support our cause down there. And we do have a contract with the city of Gadsden and the city of Etowah that definitely helps, but it is one piece of the puzzle. And one miscommunication I think that's in our community is people think because we get that money from the city and the two cities, Etowah and Gadsden, that's going to run our shelter, but it's probably more about like 10 or 15% of our total budget. So we need donations constantly. If there are people out there that write grants, we need that. It takes an army to do this. It really does. But I feel like we're gaining a little momentum. If we can get a lot of good people out there involved with us, we can do this, I believe.
So I'm going to ask the question that's probably an ugly question, but it's one that I know somebody's going to ask. So we're talking about spay and neuter in a lot of this, but what about euthanizing? It's a sad truth, or a sad thing, and I know there's plenty, especially animal lovers that would. There's no way you'd ever get into that, but I think it's a question for the community to go, well, instead of spay and neuter, why are we not euthanizing? Is that
because that's like not fixing the faucet.
okay?
Yeah, it's I'm the last person that would be in favor of euthanizing an animal, but I also know that there's a time and a place in terms of behavior and medical issues where the animal's really suffering. Or if you have an animal out in the shelter, it's being in a cage is the most foreign environment for a dog to be. And so if we can get them out quickly, but when you've got that many dogs and you're reaching out to rescues trying to get them out, it takes a while for that to happen. But
and I tell you, everybody wants a little dog.
Yes,
and even a lot of the other rescues, they just want small dogs.
Right.
I'm a big dog person myself. I love big dogs.
Gotcha. Well, and again, and I just want to be clear. I'm not saying that's the way to go. I'm just asking the question because I can see the comment, on the internet. And it's a tough one. So the adoption program, again, I'm gonna throw you on the spot with numbers. Have you got any idea on how many dogs you're getting adopted?
So far this year, we've had about 550 be adopted.
Wow. That's
and yet we're still over capacity.
Yeah, that's a pretty sizable number. That's more than I would have thought, and that's just in Etowah County, or is that's dogs that are also going to the north?
Shelter.
Okay.
Now we have an adoption event every Saturday at Petco, except that third Saturday. Then we're at Pet Supermarket.
Right.
Okay.
So
about 11 to 3.
And what are the fees associated for those that are looking to adopt?
$5 for that one.
Yes, our typical fee is $85, 85 to 100 for a puppy that has to have all the vaccinations because it costs a little more.
Right.
And the microchip.
And it comes with a microchip that includes spay or neuter. And if you can go to a vet and get that done less than $300, I want to know where you're going.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha.
So it's a great deal to adopt. And we do run specials, especially if we have dogs that have been there for a long time that really need a home. We'll do, adopt them for free. We will reduce it to $25. But when we do that, just remember, if you can pay more to adopt a dog, it helps the shelter to save another life.
Right.
So you mentioned the chip. So y'all are set up to read chips. So if my dog goes missing,
and put them in.
Okay, and put them in.
We do for our dogs.
Yes.
For our dogs, we do.
Okay. Do you know? Is that so? You mentioned animal control, and I know you're not here speaking for animal control, but is that part of their process or?
Well, animal control will bring the animals into us, and then they get worked up in an area called intake. And if we're able to scan and see if there's a chip, and if there's an owner, and the dog just got loose, somebody left a fence open or whatever like that, and get the dog back to the owner and have them reunited. But if sometimes the owner doesn't want them, and sometimes the dog just doesn't have a chip, that's probably one of the most important things that animal owners can do is have your dog chipped.
And then keep the information updated.
Yes, it can. The information can be
actually,
updated.
Lana Ballou just said that they can chip, but people need to keep their number in.
Keep it updated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And you can also sponsor a dog. You can, in terms of sponsor, I've got a few of the larger dogs that I'll contribute X dollars per month towards their care. So it's less money that's being pulled away from dogs that are not sponsored. That the staff have got to feed and have animal treats for and such and take care of. So sponsorship is something else that it's really not all that hard to write a check if you can, and designate it for a dog that can be sponsored.
Or heartworm treatment or heartworm preventative.
Yes, definitely.
Well, guys, if you've got any questions, then we'll definitely try and dive in and answer them. So I think we've covered kind of the issue that we seem to have in the county, and COVID and other factors. Quite honestly, I think it's worth mentioning just irresponsible owners, right?
Irresponsible
Yes.
owners.
Yes.
A lot of folks, that's one thing that it breaks our heart in my household when you see somebody that, they get a dog and 6 months later they're posting on, hey, does anybody want to, and obviously there's legitimate reasons why that happens, but there's certainly a lot of folks that dive headfirst into pet ownership before necessarily thinking through, does it fit their life and all that kind of stuff. So,
and they don't stay puppies forever. They're not that cute, fuzzy little puppy forever. And some people might say, hey, this is a German Shepherd. I'm going to sell it to you for this. You know what? It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not a German Shepherd. It's a Heinz 57.
Right.
So know the breed.
okay.
And for me, just 100% good boy is the best breed. Like, that's just the best breed.
Yes.
And rescue dogs know they've been rescued. Like, they know they've been rescued.
Mm.
There's a difference in, I went to this puppy mill and got this dog and gave these terrible people money. I'm sorry, can I say terrible people?
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Gave them
it's
money.
true.
It's out there.
I know, it's out there. Everybody knows me. That's how I feel about that. But when you adopt that shelter dog, you take that dog,
right,
and then you make an opening for the next dog coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saving 2 lives.
Right.
It's true.
That's a good way to think about it for sure.
I'm very passionate about this.
And another problem, Michael, is backyard breeding.
Oh my gosh.
And I know some of these people that are doing this, and I try to be nice about how I approach that issue. But there's old wives' tales out there that if you have a female dog, she needs to have 2 litters. I've yet to find a scientific fact to substantiate that.
She doesn't
belief.
even have any litters.
No, she doesn't. No. A female doesn't have to have any litters, and people are just backyard breeding for the experience. They think it's good for the dog. Wouldn't it be fun for the kids to have puppies to play with? And those are all the wrong reasons to do that.
Yes.
And you should be, if you're a breeder, you should have a license to breed, because then there's some oversight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had Rottweilers. I raised my children with Rottweilers and didn't have a problem because I went to the dog whisperer, Joe Simmons.
Gotcha.
And you've just you've got to be responsible. I went to licensed breeders to get those 2 dogs, and even at that, cut some out that I thought, I don't know if that's really all that good of a breeder.
Well,
so,
and I know
temperament.
for our household, what we tended to do, and I don't know, maybe it was the wrong way to think about it. We have not adopted, but we've gone through licensed breeders, but we did a lot of the breed research, particularly like as our kids were little, and going, what's going to be. So our first one was a lab. And he did really well with the kids. And he was actually our first child. you know, way back when, but we knew we were going to have kids, and we spent a lot of time training him, you know, uh, as he was a puppy, sticking our hands in the dog food, pulling his tail, doing all those kind of things to try and train him up so that, yeah, when I've got a 2-year-old, what's the 2-year-old going to do, you know, so we don't end up with conflict. And now we've got a little Westie is our newest, and you know, again, researching what's a good fit for the family.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah, it is.
And it's so that's our second in our household, and he's worked out well. Like I said, he loves my wife a lot more than me, but that's okay. So we do have a question in here. Do you do home check to see if someone is the right fit or can care for the dog or the animals properly?
We do some screening, but we have so many go through us. It's impossible to do a home check on everyone. I wish we could, and we would like to get to that point where we could do that, but we just do not have the staff right now to be able to do that. We do follow up. We do have a program, Foster to Adopt, if they are too young to be spayed or neutered. And we definitely follow up on those and make sure they get them back to us to get them spayed and neutered at the appropriate age. There is follow-up, but and we screen just as best we can with the staff we have and the funds we have.
Is that something that, you know, volunteers could go?
Absolutely.
Can
we
go
could
check
we
on-
could
Yes.
create a program if we could get some volunteers interested in helping with that. That would be great.
Yes.
Because we're
And you
working on a lot of different new programs, so definitely.
And if you already have a dog in the home and you want to see, like sometimes the dog will not allow.
Right.
You can bring your dog to the shelter to meet the dog in a non-confrontational, supervised
Gotcha.
visit
Mm-hmm.
to see if it's gonna. Because I've done that multiple times. Brought my dog to see, you know, who's she gonna pick?
Gotcha.
Who's my spayed dog gonna pick?
Gotcha. Well, and that's, I mean, certainly when you're talking about multiple dogs or multiple animals in the home, they need to, if they don't start getting along, then yeah, that's
Right.
that could be a nightmare. So what about, I guess, a return policy along that lines of you know, somebody does get home and it turns to be, you know, hey, this isn't a good fit or whatever. What's kind of,
We take them back. We want them safe.
They
Right.
do take them back, but you know, on behalf of the staff that work at the shelter, I have been there on days in the lobby, and that's where you'll come in and either select a dog, look at dogs, cats, whatever, and possibly bring one home. And on several occasions, I've seen staff, I shouldn't say several, but on some occasions, someone will return a dog, and probably at least 2 staff will come out that know that dog or knew it when it was in the shelter, and they'll talk with that person for a fairly long amount of time to try and determine exactly what is the problem, because perhaps, you know, someone here could help you with that, and that way the dog can remain in your home. So they do make an effort to try to see what exactly the problem is and why the person wants to return the animal.
do y'all have any sort of program for, for training, behavioral training for the animals and stuff?
We do. I go out as much as I can because of COVID and having a broken leg. It's the first time in 2 years.
Excuses.
I
Janine.
know. I could ride some of these dogs that I work with, and that would, help. But it's the first time in 2 years that we've been able to get out. Our children all live far away, and then there's been some family events we could go to. And but typically I go out and I work with the canine staff, and I'll say to them, which dogs do you think I should work with now? And fortunately, just about all the dogs I've worked with have gotten placed. And many of those folks keep up with me. And it's gotten to the point of where I had to get a little notebook. So I remember, okay, Happy Gilmore is with this person and so-and-so's with, whatever. And because they will send me pictures, and I guess that's follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And that they've all done well, et cetera. But
That's fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so anyways,
So if I want a good hunting dog,
Mhm.
I come to the shelter and see you and all trained up, ready
and the
to
canine
retrieve.
people, yeah, I mean, yeah, the canine staff are just, they are unbelievable, and they go with me to Joe's on Mondays. And when I can't go, I haven't been out at the shelter as much as I like to, working with the dogs or going to Joe's because of the traveling that we've been doing for the first time in 2 years. But you know, the folks that work in canine know those dogs. They're with them
They
every
do.
day, and then if there's an issue with a behavior or something, they have some good skills, and if they think they need to ask me, they'll ask me, and if they think I need to ask Joe, we take the dog out to Joe.
Gotcha. So let's I guess we'll kind of wrap this up with let's circle back to some numbers for some context. So you said you're at a little over 500 already this year, 550-ish, somewhere in there, with 91 currently in, and then
About 80 out in foster,
oof,
and that's
okay,
foster and foster to adopt, though.
gotcha, okay.
And I'm not sure where that breakdown is on that, but
Yeah.
So and we've got how many months left now? Four-ish months. So we'll
Yes.
end up, so you're gonna be what, about 700 dogs, hopefully
yes,
ish,
hopefully.
somewhere in there. Is that kind of what
Hopefully
you're?
more.
Is that kind of what you've been seeing? I mean, is that which I know? I mean, you're new to the board, but I mean, is
Yes.
that kind of a year to year? I mean, are those the numbers we're dealing with? We're in the 700 to 1,000 dogs a year, just in trying to get them into foster or adopted.
Yes.
That to me seems like a pretty sizable number. And I'm assuming that each one of those probably represents two or three or more that are out there roaming the streets
Oh,
and
100%.
Oh, yes. I could probably leave here today, any given day, and find a dog that needs to be picked up to be properly cared for and found a new home.
All right. Do y'all do any other animals besides? So you do cats in there as well?
Yes, cats and dogs.
You know, I
and-
adopted 2 birds from there, 2 parakeets.
And there have been rabbits. We have very good friends that adopted a rabbit from there. I thought that was kind of interesting. So,
Yeah.
My cousin
They're actually good
adopted
pets.
a pig.
yes. Okay. Yes.
Pig. Did
pig.
somebody brought in a
full-grown pig.
somebody brought in a pig to the?
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean,
We're not encouraging that.
I don't I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I mean that sounds like a lot of good bacon.
No.
Oh, me.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, his
I
name
like
was
some
Oscar
bacon.
Mayer.
Got Oscar Mayer. Nice.
Oh.
Well, okay. So we'll stay away from. So don't go collect up all the ducks hanging out
No.
down by the Coosa Landing
No.
and bring them out to the Humane Society.
They're doing great where they are. I have shoot them out of the road from time to time, but other than that, they're
Canadian
doing great.
geese.
Golly,
Yeah, let them. And the what's the white pelicans that come in seasonally. Yeah. So okay, so mainly dogs and cats. Mainly,
yes.
Yes.
mainly a lot of dogs. Is that the predominant?
It seems so since I've been there.
Yes.
It's been more dog issues than cats.
I personally would be a lot more likely to approach a stray dog than a stray cat, just because even well-loved cats scare me. Just from my experiences, I don't know. Maybe I was around some wrong cats, but they always just kind of seem to want you to leave them alone. But that's
They
all right.
sense your fear.
Yes, they are self-sufficient. So, but I know, different strokes for different folks. To answer the question for me, I'm definitely more of a dog person. But I know plenty of folks that love the cats, and so I think the family cat that we have in our family history was a great outdoor cat and did a lot for rodents, but didn't do a lot of cuddling. So, but that was my grandparents living out in the middle of nowhere, and it was a good rodent control. But all right, so well, those are that's some numbers that kind of help me, I think, have some perspective on what we're dealing with. So we're in the thousands of animals that are roaming around out there every year, and obviously. So would you say that the problem is like we're losing more and more control over that as we talk about turning that faucet off?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we're
Absolutely.
we're multiplying a lot faster than we're dealing with the problem.
Yes.
So and I guess this is kind of the last. So what more can we do as a community to try and get a hold of this before we have even more problems? I know you said you're already kind of worried, especially if you got small dogs and stuff like that going out and letting them be in the yard by themselves and all that kind of stuff. So what more can we do as a community?
Establish spay and neuter.
Yes.
And it's a countywide problem. And if we could look at it that way, and we do have a spay neuter program, a proposal for a low cost program that we've submitted to the city, and also what's called TNR, trap, neuter, and release for cats. And for some reason, cat colonies can survive, and there are people who will put food out there or they hunt, and that's not necessarily true for dogs.
Right.
And so I think supporting trap, neuter, release programs. And we have worked with animal control on that, and then just implementing spay and neuter. That will turn the faucet off.
And we need to be educating our children.
Yes.
We're trying to work on some programs where we can get into the schools and get some education out there, so that they're going home and telling their parents that we're not really taking care of our pet. We need to be doing this.
Gotcha,
Let the kids teach
okay.
the parents.
Well, and so you mentioned that we've got animals that are going to the north out of here. What's that process? I mean, how often is that? I mean, throwing them in a van and driving them up to drop them off, or one by one adoptions? How does that kind of work?
Basically, we get a commitment first from a rescue up north. They have to have somewhere to go before they are transported. And we do a lot of the vetting before they leave, so that they're not taking, say, parvo or some other illness with them up to the shelters up north.
Okay.
So we usually have to kind of have a health certificate in a lot of areas that require. Some states require those. And then a van with a whole lot of gas money. And
so, well, and that brings up, where the rubber meets the road, the money involved, spay neuter program. I mean, what's give us some kind of context of how much are we talking about? What's the annual budget? You mentioned that the city is paying only, what'd you say, 15, 20%, something like that?
Probably. That's probably close.
So, I mean, what's it cost to have y'all have a number off the top of your head in terms of cost to keep the dogs or keep animals until they're
in our budget?
Yeah.
Our budget could be as much as $750,000 a year.
Okay.
And
all right.
Transport would be, you may as well count $600 in gas. You have a $40,000 van that has to have insurance,
right?
And maintenance.
Yep, all that. Okay, all right.
So it gets expensive. Like one trip up north is probably over $1,000.
Okay. And what are the costs involved with a spay neuter program? I mean, how much money do we as a community need to think about to actually solve this problem?
As much as
maybe,
everybody can.
Yes.
As much as everybody can.
Blanket says $100 because you got different ages, different weights.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Everything.
And we have animals that come to us with heartworms. That's a cost. That's expensive.
And that's pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I've had I've treated probably over 15 dogs now for heartworms, and they've had good lives, and they deserve a chance too.
100%.
I'm looking up. Do you know what is the? There it is. So website for more information, hsprac.com. And it's pretty easy if you get on Facebook and search for Humane Society.
Oh,
Yes.
our page comes up.
So,
And we have excuse me, Michael.
Yeah.
We have adoptable dogs and adoptable cats, and then there's a stray link.
Yes.
And those are dogs that have been brought in by animal control, or they've been literally thrown over our fence at night, and they're found in the morning. And that's a good place if you're missing your dog. It's gotten out somehow, and you've looked and looked and you can't find it. Look at the shelters. Look at our shelter, the county shelter, Rainbow City, because that dog may have roamed. Someone's housing it, trying to find out who the owner is, or animal control has picked it up and brought it to one of the shelters.
Or you could microchip it.
Yeah, microchipping would make life so much easier for animal control, for any of the shelters, and particularly the animal.
And you
involved.
Can take it to a vet and say, I found this dog. Can you check for a microchip?
Yeah,
I've done that.
Yeah, vets will scan.
And the
They
vet
have
will scan.
scanners. Yeah.
To
Okay.
update your information.
And probably a lot of wives that would encourage their husbands to get microchipped as well to make it easier to find.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
let's not go there.
That was funny.
Oh, all right. Well, obviously a serious topic, but you got to have some humor in the midst of dealing with it. And, so I guess I'll leave it. Any last thoughts that you guys want to share? Certainly plug, come out Saturday for our community celebration out at the airport. Like you said, you'll have adoptable animals paperwork ready to go. So
Yes, we will.
we will have beer on hand, but you won't be able to consume enough that you will accidentally make a bad decision and go home with a dog that you shouldn't.
Right.
But definitely come support.
Adopt a dog. I'm just kidding.
But one more thing.
Maybe
like,
that's a sponsorship
realize-
opportunity.
Realize that when you're at the shelter and you're looking at these adoptable dogs, they're not necessarily going to behave. Like they need a couple of weeks to decompress.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
A couple of weeks to learn your habits.
It can be months. It
Yes.
can be months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just know that if that dog is barking at the fence, don't just disregard it, because when he's in his home, he's going to act different. He's going to
Gotcha.
act different.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So keep that in mind.
I've had some amazing turnarounds and
Me too.
rescues. I had 3 that I rescued from Inslee one time, and one of them had been shot, and they had saved their owner from robbers. And
Oh, wow.
they all had heartworms. They all had real beautiful long hair that was just matted to their skin. And they were pretty aggressive when I first got them, and they ended up being big teddy bears. So they need a chance. They've
Well-
been
Time.
handed a bad
Yes.
deal, and they need time.
So keep that in mind. Don't bring that dog back after a week and go, hey, I can't potty train him.
gotcha.
Well, give it a minute. Give
So
him a minute.
definitely, however you get that pet, being a responsible pet owner, it takes work.
It does.
You know,
does.
and it takes some thought and planning, just like having kids, and all that. So, well, thank y'all for coming in and taking some time. Hopefully, I know I learned a good number of things. Number one, some numbers perspective on just how big an issue, and if you think, obviously, you know, it's not going to increase at a steady rate. It's going to increase at an exponential rate. It's just the nature of breeding, right?
Don't have
Exactly.
just one puppy.
Yep. So, sounds like we as a community need to get our hands around this pretty quick before we have an even bigger problem.
Right.
So I will link up. I don't have the link in there right now, but obviously link to them on Facebook. And I'll try and find if I can see something with the county shelter. And then, certainly if you guys have more information, drop it in the comments. That's kind of the point of this, is to get information out there. If you know of other programs or other things going on, then sounds like pretty easy to get a hold of to support. We'd love to have you guys come on out this Saturday night. It'll be 6 to 9. We've got music, animals, airplanes, all that kind of good stuff. And we actually, I don't know, maybe we can talk Congressman Adderholt into to taking a pet home with him. No pressure, Congressman. I don't want to scare him away. No. Thank y'all so much for your time. Thank you for what you do for the community. I know as you started off, you do it more for the animals than you do for, which is great. A community takes all kinds. And we're thankful. And most importantly, I know the animals are thankful. And so, guys, certainly encourage you to go support, go learn more. I think that's going to do it for us. I hope y'all have a great afternoon. Whenever you watch this, if it's after the 13th, after this Saturday, then by all means go check them out and follow their donate. As we have clearly demonstrated, there will be plenty of pet opportunities and plenty of support needed whenever you watch this. I can guarantee. So, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for the comments in here, and thanks for the great questions. And well,
Go
I guess
your dog.
yeah.